Okay, we're ready now to install the new lower tape plate. And as I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you put a spacer washer on the lower feed wheel shaft. And then you want to reinstall the lower feed wheel shaft back into the machine first. That's the first step. Again, you have the nut on this side that you have to reinstall. So you want to do that. And we'll skip that part since it does take time to screw that back in. This is the wooden roller, the tape roller. It keeps falling out and it belongs back here, but it'll continue to fall out until we get the machine frames back together. Here's your new lower tape plate. Once your lower feed wheel shaft is installed, you want to drop the new lower tape plate into position. And this will take a second for me to line it up. Okay, so it's in there, but very loose. Now with the new stainless steel screws that come with the kit, you'll take a screw and you first want to screw this side of the lower tape plate in and take a stainless steel fastener that comes with the kit and you'll thumb tighten that screw down. Then you have to line up the shafts over on this side so that you can squeeze the frame back together. And the only way to do that is to turn the machine on its side. And then you want to locate the cutter yoke shaft and the lower feed wheel shaft and make sure that they're lined up through the frame cutouts right here. And also the wood roller back there. You line everything up, and it's not lining up just yet. Hold on. And then just kind of pound the frame back together. And we're still not completely lined up here with all the shafts. Okay, you can cut for a second. Okay, you want to make sure again that the two shafts, the cutter yoke shaft and the lower feed wheel shaft, are coming through this side frame right here so that the frame fits together nicely. Also, this little bar right here, make sure that the square rectangular bar is through this hole right here, and make sure that wooden roller is through the frame on the back of the machine. That allows the frames to come together. Once that's together, the next thing you want to do is secure this side of the lower tape plate. And to do that, you'll use the new clip that comes with the kit. You'll line up the holes. Again, this is where a nail punch comes in handy. You line up the holes on the lower feed wheel shaft to the holes in the frame of the machine. And that allows you to screw in, or at least drop the screw, through this hole on the lower tape plate and frame. And then take a stainless steel nut, and again, tighten it down. Thumb tight is good at this point. Take that out. Now you've got the new lower stainless steel tape plate in, and the rest of it's really pretty simple. It's just a matter of going back and putting all the fasteners back in. You remember that you took out one or two 1/4 20 screws on this side, so you want to put those back through the frame and tighten them down. I'll just put one in for right now. Again, your machine may have one, it may have two screws on that side. And again, we'll thumb tighten for right now. Then stand your machine upright. And if the springs came out, you want to reinstall the two springs first. So this is the crank tensioner spring, and you'll notice it has a hard fixed loop. That loop gets hooked up inside the machine, right up in here. I'm going to have to do it from this side, excuse me. But you want to hook that there onto the cutter yoke shaft. And you'll notice the spring comes down over the wood roller, and just place it right here in the first hole in the tape basket area. Oop, oop. And just for now, we're going to put it in the first hole in the tape basket area right there. The second spring is the handle return spring, and you'll notice that has a loose loop. On this camshaft right here, here's one taken out of an older machine, you can see there's a little hole in this camshaft, and that's where you loop this spring through, that hole. And it's hard to, oops, sorry about that. You can't really see it, but you have to loop this spring through that hole right there. Let me reinstall this crank tensioner spring. It fell off. And again, we'll go to the first hole here. So we're all set there. Now that's installed, and so is our handle return spring. Next thing you want to do is reinstall the shear kit. Again, the lower shear goes, sorry about that. The lower shear goes in first, and it simply drops in. Hold it. Okay, you drop the lower shear in, and there's two little L brackets right here that the lower shear has to be into. You then pull the springs down on the lower shear and clip them back onto the little pegs inside the machine. Okay, then you take your upper shear, and with a screwdriver you press back the lower shear just slightly, and that installs the upper shear. You're pressing down and sliding the upper shear so it's into the yoke assembly. Then with the new stainless steel screw that comes with the kit right here, you can simply line this up and simply, it's actually easy. And then slide it through. Now the one thing I didn't put back on was the little spacer washer to save time here, but that would normally go right here. Again, if you don't put it back on again, it's not going to hurt anything. And then you grab your screwdriver. Now remember, this screw you're using in place of the rod and the retaining ring that you see on the 333, you'll use that. Use this screw instead. It's a lot faster to install, and it's a lot faster to take it out. And you have a threaded nut on this side, and just use your finger to hold it. And again, you don't need to over tighten this nut, so I just leave it kind of loose. You then want to reinstall your tank support shelf. And again, to speed this up a little bit, I'm not going to tighten everything down. I'll just put the screws in so you can kind of see. And these, again, the kit comes with new stainless steel screws, so if you had to chisel these off, don't worry about it. And then once the tank support shelf is in, you can then go ahead and reinstall the lower front cover, which again fits in here. You take your long 1/4 20 screw, slide it through, and then you want to put the nut on that side. Reinstall that. And again, these can all be tightened down now completely. You don't have to leave these loose. And then you take your handle return spring, which is lying here, go around the outside of this wood roller and clip it to the second hole in the lower front cover. Now that's done. Okay, so that's the entire bottom of the machine done. And now all we have to do is reinstall our upper feed wheel shaft. This has a spacer that you'll reinstall, so you want to take the upper feed wheel shaft, line a spacer up, start sliding it through, and then if you have the old style metal feed wheel, that would slide on, and then simply put the clip, your C-clip, back on the shaft to hold that in position. Then you take your two new pivot rods. One pivot rod will go in here, through here, That's about that. And then the other pivot rod, now remember your two shear rollers. You want to put the pivot rod through the frame, put a shear roller here, back on. Put your upper tape plate through, and then you put the other shear roller on the other side, slide this through, and then you can take a clip right here and move it back down to catch both of these. You'll notice that these, by the way, have a cutout in them. That cutout is so that pivot rod clip can lock these shafts into position. Once those are locked down, then you take your tie rod and your two tape guides, and you can drop those back into the tape basket area. And again, on your machine, it might look like this. It might have four 1/4 20 screws. It drops in, or it might be plastic and it just snaps in this area. This particular model uses a tie rod, and your machine might have this metal tie rod. And then you put your front cover and your rear covers back on. You put your side cover back on, and you really center your feed wheel. Of course, tighten that feed wheel down. They use a 3/32 set screws if it's the old metal style. And you tighten that down, center it over the lower feed wheel, and basically that's it. You're done installing the upper tape plate, the new stainless steel upper tape plate. That's all there is to reinstalling everything. It's just kind of the reverse of taking everything apart. On your machine, you may have rust, and so some of these screws you're going to have to beat off with a chisel or a drill. But that's it. And once you're done, though, the good news is that stainless steel plate will never rust again. Your stainless steel fasteners won't rust, and you'll be in business for quite a few years. Thank you.